Welcome back with our main topic today. Of course, Egypt marks today the Sinai Liberation Day. On this occasion, we have the pleasure to discuss and know more about Sinai. Why was it named with this name? What is the geographical importance and the historical importance and the most important touristic sites in Sinai? All this we are going to know as we have the pleasure to have this photo with Mr. Ihab Kamel, the historian and the tourism expert. Good morning, Mr. Kamel.
Good morning.
Mr. Kamel, I would like that you give us an idea, why was Sinai named with this name?
Well, the name Sinai, we're not really so sure where did it come from, but lots of scholars, they think that it's related to the name of a Babylonian god. His name was the god Sin, the god of the moon, which his cult had reached the area of Palestine. And of course, Sinai and Palestine, they were very close. There was a population movement between both areas in the ancient times. So that brought with it the cult of Sin to the Canaanites who used to move between Sinai and Palestine. And as a matter of fact, this cult had moved with them. That is why this area was called Sinai. That's what most of the scholars think, but the ancient Egyptians used to call Sinai Khasut Mifkit, which means the land of the turquoise, because they used to mine turquoise a lot over there, as well as copper in Wadi Maghara.
Yes, Mr. Kamel, what about the geographical importance of Sinai, as Sinai acts as a bridge between the African continent and Asia continent?
Well, we have to understand that the importance of Sinai, not only because it is the bridge between Africa and Asia, but it's the eastern gate for Egypt. That is the most important and the most dangerous gate for Egypt. Think of it this way. All the foreign conquests, they came from the east.
Yes, that's true.
Ramses III, when the Sea People tried to invade Egypt from the west. But think of it this way. The Hyksos, they came from the east. Later on, the Greeks, the Romans, they came from the east. All the influences that came on Egypt, whether
yes, that's
cultural
true, through
or
history.
spiritual.
Why was this?
So it all came from the east. Christianity, Islam, all came from the east. So when you think about it, you will find that Sinai, it's important, and it's the most dangerous gate or frontier for Egypt. Besides that, Sinai is considered to be a rich area with minerals, very rich with its location as a bridge between Africa and Asia, and this had helped a lot in the Egyptian foreign trade in the ancient times and in the modern times as well.
Yes. So, what is the religious importance of Sinai, and what the names of the prophets who passed through Sinai or visited Sinai?
We have to understand that Sinai, it's very important religiously for all the three religions: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. In Judaism, which is I start with because it's the most ancient one of the three. Actually, Sinai was mentioned in the Old Torah by the name of Horeb, and according to the belief in Judaism, it says that after the Exodus, the children of Israel had lived in Sinai for 40 years. Not only this, but that God went to Prophet Moses went to receive the Ten Commandments in Mount Sinai, or Mount Horeb, as they called him, which is the mountain of Moses, now near St. Catherine Monastery. So for them, it's very important because of the existence of the burning bush, because of the existence of the valley where the children of Israel had waited for Prophet Moses to come with the Ten Commandments. Same thing for Christianity. You will notice that for the Christians, Sinai is very important because that's where the Holy Family had passed through the famous road of Horus to come to Egypt, escaping from Herod. We have also the reliefs, the remains of St. Catherine, the famous Christian saint, which we have preserved, which we've got preserved inside the monastery of St. Catherine, and lots of other Christian landmarks, especially that the early cave dwellers of hermits who had started the monastic life, they had lived in Sinai. Like, for example, the Patriarch Sophronius, the Patriarch of Jerusalem during the time of Omar ibn al-Khattab, who handed him the keys of Jerusalem. He was actually a hermit in Sinai, one of the cave dwellers in Wadi Firan. So for the Muslims, that is the place where the Arab armies led by Amr ibn al-As had crossed, and they reached Egypt, and they entered Egypt so that Egypt would turn to become an Islamic province. So by all means, this area is very much related and has history which is related to the three religions.
Yes, Mr. Kamel, what about the history of Sinai during the ancient Egyptians?
As I said before, Sinai for the ancient Egyptians was called Khasit Mesket, which means the land of turquoise. And actually, the Egyptians' relations with Sinai, the ancient Egyptians, I mean, it's very old. It dates back to the time of the end of the first dynasty, the beginning of the second, because we had found over there some inscriptions mentioning the name of one of the very early Egyptian kings that dates back to the end of the first dynasty, the beginning of the second dynasty. His name was King Den. And this is a solid proof that Sinai is Egyptian. Maybe the Egyptians, they had employed some of the Bedouins who were living there to work as miners. And also that is explained because of the small population of Egypt. So they used to send mining campaigns since the first dynasty. And we had discovered over there that there was a link between Egypt and the Canaanites of Sinai as early as the second dynasty, because Sir Flinders Petrie in 1905 had discovered some very strange writing which he could not really decipher until 1917. Sir Alan Gardner had managed to decipher them, and he discovered that they were a kind of an Canaanese alphabet, which was an indication of the relation between Egypt and the Canaanese of Palestine through Sinai. So this shows that the ancient Egyptians understood the importance of Sinai as a bridge to Asia. Later on, King Thutmose III, and before him his great ancestor, King Ahmose, had understood the importance of Sinai, so he used the famous military road that was known by the name of the Road of Horus, that started from El Qantara in northern Sinai, going all the way to until it goes to Gaza, and that was his way in his conquests to Asia. And later on, King Seti I had built several fortresses in that road, especially in Tal al-Hayta over there, in a fortress called Tharu. And they did not only build these fortifications in the north of Sinai, but also in the south of Sinai. The ancient Egyptians had given a great deal of care to the Red Sea. And in what we know as Gezirat Pharaon, the pharaoh Shashank had built a fortress during the 22nd dynasty. As a matter of fact, this shows that there was a very strong ancient Egyptian existence and presence in Sinai, and actually this explains the huge number of antiquities that were found in Sinai, and especially after the Israeli occupation in 1967, lots of these pieces were taken there, and they were retrieved back by the Egyptian government after the signing of Camp David Peace Treaty. Yes. How many pieces were there? 625,000 pieces of antiquities were retrieved from Israel. This shows, if this shows an evidence, it shows an evidence that the Egyptians had a strong presence in Sinai. Also, we have lots of temples and chapels over there. The most famous one of them, it's in a place called the mountain of, that's where they used to mine for the turquoise in a place called Sarabit al-Khadim. Yes. We have a temple over there, an ancient Egyptian temple dedicated to an ancient Egyptian goddess, the goddess Hathor, the cow goddess. At this area, she was worshipped under the name of Nibet Mifket, which means the lady of the turquoise. She was worshipped by the miners. So the ancient Egyptian existence for Sinai was very strong, and Sinai had acted in the periods of decline as a buffer between Egypt and the Western Asians or the Bedouins. Usually, in the periods of decline or the periods of weakness, the Bedouins or the Western Asians used to penetrate the ancient Egyptian borders and settle in Sinai. And actually, Sinai acted like the buffer that stopped them from entering the eastern delta. Yeah. And in the periods of peak, the Egyptian army used to drive them out of the Egyptian borders and take full control over the country. So Sinai was an important area in either in the ancient times or the modern times.
Yes. I thank you very much for your valuable information, Mr. Ihab Kamel, the historian and also the tourism expert. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone in the breakfast show. Ladies and gentlemen, I leave you now with my colleague Nermeen Abdurrahman, and we are still marking on the occasion of the Sinai Liberation Day. We have more coming up next on this occasion.